You're gonna have to excuse me, bro, because the old throat is a little bit
Oh, here we
sore.
go. Here we go. On-set challenges. Oh, I've been on a few shoots. I've done my personal shoot. Oh, my voice is hurting.
Why are you coming after me? I'm being attacked. It's not what I need on my Wednesday morning, Cameron. Um, no, yesterday I was shouting a lot on set.
Yeah.
Um,
So you were shooting, wasn't you, yesterday
I was pow, pow,
in
pow, pow.
studio? Yeah. I guess. Dude, the
Um,
listeners are gonna be like,
never do that
"Oh
again.
God."
So yeah, yesterday we shot the personal project that I've been meaning to get into the studio and shoot, and we'll get on to how I feel about it and all that kind of stuff. And in fact, today's show, guys, we're going to break down a step-by-step guide of going through all the different process of what it looks like to, shooting a personal concept, coming up with it, mood boarding, deciding what you want to do, X, Y, Z. We're going to get right into it, break it all down. Just seems relevant at the moment as I literally just did that yesterday. But yeah, spent the whole day on set shouting, and I shot everything on the 70 to 200. I was quite far away from the talent, so
Oh, that's
um,
interesting.
yeah,
Actually, yeah, I never knew
so
that.
yeah, so you are quite far away in the studio, so you are kind of having to speak and shout quite loudly when you're directing, like all
Mm.
day. And obviously, then I'm speaking to like Eden, my assistant, and then like the other guys that are helping and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of
Yeah.
talking. So yeah, man, it went really, really well. The goal, and I put this on my story, the goal of the shoot yesterday was to come away with something that I think can sit in my portfolio.
Mm.
And I think honestly, yesterday was the most I've probably maybe ever pushed myself creatively, which is a big statement. But I shared the contact sheet with you, and you were like, "Whoa, like this is not what I was expecting from you," which was
Yeah.
interesting for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely different. It's definitely something where I don't know, because I think that you've got like this, you develop this style, right? And then you develop like these cropping styles and all this. And it's like, this is completely, for Matt, this is like completely like, oh, okay.
yeah.
Definitely stand
So
out on the portfolio.
I think, and this is going to be the challenge, right? It is really different, and it's different in the sense that all the commercial work you shoot X, Y, Z, it's very crisp and clean and polished, and because that's how clients want it, that's how brands want it. For this,
Clarity.
yeah,
Mm.
I was really determined to, you know, push it, elevate the lighting, much more edge to it, much more attitude, much more drama, and really try and like express myself creatively. So the concept that we shot, basically, there ended up being four different kind of looks throughout the day that almost look like four different shoots entirely, which is great. So I've got a lot of different things to break down and play with here. But the original idea for the shoot was to come up with. I love the running brand on running. I think they're great. I love the way they do their marketing, and I would love to shoot for them. So I was like, right, I'm going to go out and I want to create something that I think could be an on running or on campaign. That's the goal. So that was
That's,
where the original
ju-
idea
ju-
started.
yeah, just before you get further into that, I think that's really interesting how, again, it's like practicing what you preach, where it's like if you want to shoot for these brands, then go out and do something which is like a spec for this brand and,
Yeah.
do your best or whatever. And
Like I've spent
everyone can
like
take that.
I spent a lot of my own money as well. So I was really nervous, man. Like I wrote a little entry into like my notes journal, whatever. But I slept so badly the night before and
Mm.
slept awfully. Obviously, I got up early to head into London to do this shoot, and I I had put so much pressure on myself to like get this shoot right, and I like in full transparency, I probably spent like a grand of my own money on this shoot. So over. So when you're fronting up that money, obviously it's like shit. It's
Yeah, you
it's
want
a
to
lot of
get
money.
something
That's
from
a,
it. Yeah,
that's a lot. It's a lot of money.
yeah, yeah.
So like
But you want it to
reinvest.
work as well. Yeah, you
Yeah,
want it
yeah.
to get something from it realistically.
Yeah, so it's like the desperation to get something from it that is gonna take your career up a notch and level it up for you is huge because you're fronting a lot of your own money. And yes, like this is the money my business has made and I'm reinvesting it back into the business. It's still my money. I'm the only one in my business. So it's like, it was a big thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I could have bought a camera with that. I could have bought a lens. So to do that was like, obviously really like huge for me because I'd never, yes, I've done these little personal shoots before, but I'd never kind of gone to the level that I had in terms of, making sure I had like a big enough studio, like a load of lighting for me and Eden to play with, um, like, and I didn't even have styling, didn't have a makeup artist, didn't have set design. Basically, what I did was the reason why I basically spent a bunch of money on getting a month's membership at the studio. So I've got 4 shoots that I can do in that studio over the space of a month, which is great.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah. So and
I
I've
never
and
knew
I've
that.
I've fronted up that money and paid for it. I've already paid for it. So that was the first one. But
Hmm.
that's going to force me to now do a bunch of personal shoots. Do you know what I mean? Because I've got this like 4 slots in this studio over the next 4 weeks, and I've got to do it within a 4 week window. So
So did you know that going into it though? Did you know, okay, I'm gonna do
yeah,
4 shoots to make the most of this, or did you do this first and then go, oh damn, I've got like a full month for this. Maybe I should make
well,
the most of it and
it was either like spend X amount for a day in the studio, or
Hmm.
spend a bit more, but you get 4 days in the studio.
Yeah.
So cost wise, it worked out like
That
way.
actually sounds really good. I
It
think
was
split
basically a
over four
deal that
shoots.
it was a deal that I couldn't turn down. Like it was that
Yeah,
good.
yeah. But again though, like a grand or whatever split over 4 shoots is almost like I think you're definitely getting your money's worth if you can get like 4
We'll see. Yeah, then
portfolio
I am.
projects or whatever out of it. Yeah,
Then I am. And I also then like I paid some crew as well. So like that also
of
came
course.
out
Yeah.
my pocket and stuff. So but anyway, fronted up the money. So then you're committed, right? You're in.
Mm.
So I was really nervous. Obviously put a deck together, came up with a concept. Originally I tried to squeeze 2 concepts into this day. So I was like, right, I'll do like one shoot in the morning and then get some other talent in the afternoon, evening, and do like another shoot. And I'm
Yeah.
so fucking glad I didn't do that now.
Yeah.
Eden on the tube home yesterday was just like, mate, like if you'd have tried to have done that, he was knackered. He worked so hard for me yesterday, like constantly trying to push the lighting, elevate it, think outside the box. It
Shout
was
out
just
to
a
Eden.
yeah, shout out Eden. And it was just a really, really, really good day. And it was the first time, when you're like buzzing with the images and you're on set and you're like literally shouting and screaming like it's fucking sick. There was moments on set yesterday that were like that, and they don't happen that often.
Mm.
Especially when your expectations and your standards are at like the highest level they've ever been. So yeah, it felt really good. It's a little different for me, and I'm now going to work with a retoucher on it based in Amsterdam. I've never worked with him before, but we're going to collaborate on this together
No, very fun.
again to take it up a notch, like to level it up, to try and it's really hard because I'm trying not to rush the editing and the selects process and just get it out and post it because I'm excited to share it.
Mm.
Take the time, get it right, let the images breathe, make selects, but make selects in terms of how is this going to elevate your portfolio? Where does it sit in your portfolio? And coming back to what I was saying earlier, I think the challenge actually is going to be marrying it up with my other work, because what you've seen is very different. So it's like, how can we polish it up a touch, maybe add some branding, make it look like a commercial so it still weaves in with me and my work, and whether it's the crops and that kind of stuff, but it's got much more of an edge editorial style to it.
Do you know, you mentioned, so 2 things that you mentioned which stood out to me was you mentioned how when you're doing your personal projects, it's an opportunity for you to be able to work with maybe people that you've never worked with before, like the retoucher in Amsterdam. And
Mm.
also, it's an opportunity to work with people, not only like retouchers, but people who you haven't worked with before. So you're working with a retoucher who maybe does it differently than the usual retoucher that you work with.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is you was talking about how when you upload stuff to your website, it's also like another process of how does this marry with the rest of my work? How do I put this on the portfolio so it mixes in and kind of stands out, but also doesn't like devalue the rest of your work and stuff?
Yeah.
And I think that's thing that you don't think about that. Like if I was obviously like if other people were uploading, you'd think, oh, you just chuck it up there, you just create a new window on your website. But to put like this amount of effort and thought into it, I think is something that doesn't come to the surface too often. You just kind of do it and you go, yes, it's out, it's released, it's on the website, nice.
Well, as I've gone through my career, I've come to learn that how you curate your work is just as important, and how you share it is just as important as the work itself, nearly. Like
Yeah, it's how you present it. Yeah.
100%. So I have got the shoot I did yesterday, I've almost got 4 different like looks that could almost be 4 separate shoots. So now I've got to figure out, I've got to make those selects, I've got to go through an edit, I've then got to work with the retoucher, and I'll have almost 3 or 4 separate shoots to post if I'm still happy with them and I think they're to the level that I want them to be. So then it's like the work goes out, then it's how it sits on my website, but then it's also, so I paid someone to come in and shoot like BTS content, all that videos. I have got about
Oh
150
mate,
iPhone videos on my phone of yesterday.
yep.
So then it's the whole other side of like my business and the marketing where it's like, okay, what reels am I going to create with this? What content am I going to create with this? There's an entire bank of stuff. I could probably make like 10 to 20 reels just out of that stuff alone, merged up with the final edits. So it's like, how do I curate that? And how do I go about that? And which one comes first? Do I post the BTS reel first before the final images drop? And do you know what I mean? There's all
Yeah,
these things I've now got to think about, which is almost like, feels like a week's worth of work in itself, maybe more.
yeah. Do you feel like the urgency takes away from the enjoyment of it? Because when we're talking about, taking time to like think about how it goes up on the website and how to present work and the BTS, sometimes you can want to just throw the work up and get it out there because there is that urgency to be like, oh, it's done. But actually taking the time in these places and thinking about like the strategy a little bit more is the fun bit. Because
Yeah.
if like, you're not worrying about like, oh, like I need to get this out like within the week or whatever. And I think, at least for me, like that really took away the enjoyment of it. So when you're talking about it, I'm like, some people like you, for example, you just have like that dialed in, like without. It's kind of like just the way you work is like that. Like you do take your time a little bit, whereas I think I maybe started rushing, not rushing, but just kind of like wanting to get things out a bit more, and then it kind of overwhelmed me, and then I was like,
I
like,
I definitely used to rush it, and I'm
mm,
really trying to make the conscious effort this time round to slow it all down. Like yesterday, this morning I got up, had my usual slow morning. Alarm goes off at 6. I get up, I have breakfast, then I watch some YouTube while I'm having breakfast, and I'll have a coffee, and I had like a really slow morning. Whereas in the past I'd rush to my desk and I'm wanting to sit and like edit so I can post something this evening from yesterday.
oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
do you know
it's a
what I
good
mean?
example,
And
yeah,
I was doing selects on the train home yesterday, and I've been doing selects this morning until we jumped on this call. But I'm gonna do selects for each portion of the shoot, and then like let it breathe, and then tomorrow come back and or later this evening cull again and try and reduce those selects, and just really like slow down, take my time. What looks good? Like, what do I want out of this shoot? Like, I want more commercial work. So, also bearing that in mind, but also I want to show what I can do creatively with my eye that stands out from maybe my old work and makes like my stuff stand out from the crowd. So, yeah, marrying up all these different things, like I'm really trying this time to slow it all down, take my time with the editing, go back and forth with the retoucher until I've got, say, out of this first contact sheet I sent the retoucher, look, here's the vibe for the first part of this shoot. There's 67 images on the contact sheet. Got to try and get that down to like 5 to 8, and maybe he only works on like 5 of those images, and they're the 5 that you guys will see on Instagram when they go
mm,
out. And everything else just gets buried, and you won't ever see it. So it's like, how am I going to narrow down those 67 images to the 5? And I'll pull up the contact sheet and I'll just sit and look at them as a body of work and cross stuff out and be like, yeah, I want that, or I don't want that. And I like to look at stuff side by side. So if there are 2 images that are maybe in a similar realm, just
mm.
looking at them side by side, that one is stronger than the other. So
Yeah, it's
um,
been very deliberate.
yeah,
Yeah,
like super deliberate. You kind of have
mm.
to be. So yeah, man, like that's the motive over the next like few weeks. And obviously today's show we want to break down the step by step process into doing this, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a brief kind of like where I'm at the moment with this personal shoot, and hopefully when I post it, it goes down well. But even if it doesn't, I feel like I came away yesterday. The fact that I pushed myself further, me and Eden, like as a team, pushed ourselves further than we ever have done before is a great sign for me, and that's growth and
Mm.
learning and pushing myself as a creative. So that's a win. Like, I'll take that.
Yeah, yeah.
but I also feel like there is images that are absolutely strong enough to sit in my portfolio and that probably do look like a on commercial. And that's the goal,
Mm.
right? It's having something that could look like an on commercial if you saw it and be like, oh, who shot that? That's really cool. And it doesn't look out of place, you know?
Yeah, and I think the result of that would happen in multiple places. Like you've got the BTS footage, so you might post the final images on Instagram. That alone may or may not produce a shoot or produce like a client or whatever.
Yeah.
But oh, one second, my mummy's phoning me. Hang
Oh, no.
up. um, that may or may not produce a shoot or a client.
Yeah.
But you have the BTS footage, you have all this other stuff that you can share on an ongoing basis, which would be for that shoot, and maybe that's the kind of stuff that would then
Yeah.
capture like a client or someone, and then you've got that thing on your website for
Exactly.
them to
So
see as
worst
well.
comes to
So
worst, I've got a
yeah,
bank of content.
hmm.
And my biggest critic, my lovely partner, I sent her the contact sheet I just sent you, and I
Yep.
text her saying, I feel like this works with an on vibe. Like once it's all done and polished, it could easily pass as an on advert. It's on that level. And she texts me back saying, I agree. So if for her to say that, then I'll take
Yeah,
it because she will absolutely tell me if she doesn't agree. She thinks it
yeah.
doesn't work. So
Would
um,
you also include her in the? So maybe you'll choose like your top 5 images or whatever, but would you also like just do a triple check like with her just to see if she thinks these 5 are good as well? You know, just as like a
again,
second opinion or.
mate, this is the other
Mm,
problem that I've had over the years is that I'll create this contact sheet or I'll create 20 images and I'm sending them to like you, Yaz, Fred, and I'm like, right, I can't choose, like, help me make selects. And that's all well and good having those people around you, but then it's kind of not it is your final product, but too many cooks spoil the broth in the sense that you could send me 5 images you like. Yaz could send me 5 images she likes. Fred could send me a
mm,
different 5. And you're just going around in circles. So you need to choose and you need to, I think, keep an element of that to yourself because then it almost, the photos that you're posting on your page should be the ones that you think are the best. And try not to, yes, you can listen to people's opinions, but having too much of an influence, I think, can sway you in so many ways that it can get a bit like that. So I was really bad for that. Like, obviously, Yaz doesn't have a career in the creative industry, and my younger brother doesn't either. And I'd be sending him stuff, and like whatever he thought was the coolest, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, if he thinks that, then. But do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's a really tricky one. You have to be really careful with that kind of thing, I think.
yeah. I think I always try to make the final decision first and be like, these are the 5. Like, if I was a photographer, these are the 5. Before I send these off to be finally retouched or whatever, what do you think? So you're almost like, instead of showing them the 20, you've kind of already made your decision, but you're like just confirming it. I think that
Yeah,
might be
fun.
a good way to still keep that. But yeah, well, creativity and the eye of it is all content. What's
So
the word? It's
subjective.
subjective. That's the
Yeah,
word.
so
Yeah,
subjective.
and
Um,
also you've seen the other like 200 images or whatever that you
and
had
you
on
were there
a
on the
contact
day.
sheet.
You've got a feeling for it. Like, do you know what I
Exactly,
mean? You
exactly.
you know in your head what your final product is. You know what you
Mm,
wanted it to look like, where you took inspiration from. Where I could show it to someone like Fred, who is someone that I admire so much, and he's probably like one of my favorite creators and creatives. But he's looking at it with his eye and what he thinks is best, and he hasn't seen the set on the day and hasn't seen the mood board. Do you know what I mean? So then it's
yeah,
like he's looking at it through his eye. You need to make sure that you know, and it's something I want to get better at. So I think look at it through your own eye and try and make those decisions for yourself. So yeah, maybe once I've chosen my final 5 and they've gone off to the talent, then I'll share them with people. But to be honest, I'm kind of just like some of the people on set yesterday posted BTS on their stories. And I just said to them, look, don't get offended if I don't repost it. It's not because I don't like you. It's because I don't want to show anything to my followers until
mm,
that image drops on your page, on your feed, and you see it and you're like, whoa. Like,
Yeah.
wasn't expecting that. It stops you in your tracks. You either love it or you don't, but this is the work. This is what I feel like yesterday we really created art. And I think, I don't know, you've seen the contact sheet. I feel like it is very artistic and it's really pushing those like creative boundaries a lot more.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Um,
I think it's a lot more. Is conceptual the right word? I think
yeah,
like compared to like the more based in like the real world kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think as well like maybe like the journey of creativity is like it is finding your style and also these different things and also like developing the trust that you have to be like I like these 5 images. I'm not going to ask anybody else. It's
Yeah,
just I like these. And
yeah.
I think that is like what every creative is almost like striving for is this constant battle of
Trust is the right
yeah.
word. Trust is the right word. And do you know what? I put a reel up the other day, and it was the post shoot routine, post
Hmm.
shoot rituals. Like, what do you guys do? And there was quite a few funny comments. And someone, again, who's another creator, shout out Mikey, who works for Gymshark. He's a creator at Gymshark, a creative. Worked with him for years, and he replied to my story saying, basically, you know, post shoot routine equals self doubt. And I just messaged him
That's
saying
good.
like, yeah, it's a disease all of us creatives deal with, and it kind of is. Like, you can say you're trying to make selects. There's elements of self doubt that can creep in and be like, oh, I don't know if that's right, or would people like that? And you start to think about what the people would like, and circling back to the word you used there, which was trust. It's developing and like that trust with yourself in order to the selects you make, you trust that they're the best ones and that's your eye and that's what you think is the best and that's final. And that's what makes you you and that's what gives you your creative eye. So it's
Mm.
trusting yourself and backing yourself to make that decision without the self doubt creeping in that we all can struggle with. That's like, oh, but this person said that. So maybe I should throw that one in instead. Do you know what I mean? It's you can get yourself into a very sticky situation very quickly if you speak to too many
Yeah.
people.
Well, what's interesting as well is this kind of shows up in everything. Like if you look at films, if you look at music, like all these people, they all kind of like put their stuff out just based on like what they like. It's like their type of music that they made was like regardless of whether it was, made for it to be popular, it's still made kind of in their eye in a way. And they would have
Yeah,
had people that were like, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that. And it's like, oh, I'll just put it out. Same with movie directors, same with photographers. And it's hard for you to like, when you kind of do something like that, it feels weird.
mm.
But really, these people have been doing that, and that's why they are where they are. Like the first, I know, probably quite controversial, but the first person that comes to mind is Kanye West, just because he's like very like this is my fucking music that I'm putting out, and that's it. And obviously, he
Yeah.
it's more like I don't know. I hope that drives the point home, but
No, no,
yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. So yeah, let's break down.
yeah. Let me share it. Shall I share the?
Okay, so no. So firstly, before you pull the little brief deck I
Okay.
made, so we're gonna share just a little deck I put together for the shoot that I sent to the team for the shoot, so you guys can get a feeling of how that looks. But the first, step by step guide. The first point is the purpose. So it's defining the goal. Is it a portfolio piece? Is it to pitch to a brand? Is it to test a lighting idea? Kind of, what is the purpose of this shoot? Is it to gain more commercial clients? Is it just to maybe learn and be in a studio and get used to being in a studio? You've got to
Mm,
define your clear goal, right? For me, it was I want to get more commercial work. So that was why the whole purpose of it was to be an on spec ad. I love the brand on. I wanted to show them what I could do if I was shooting something for, that brand, but with my creative brain at it and not being given a brief, me coming up with my own brief. But I also wanted to push myself creatively. Me and Eden wanted to push our lighting setup, you know, push the boat out, go a little further, see what we could come up with. But
yeah. Hold on.
I was just going to say, you've got to set constraints as well. So obviously, like, what's your time window? What's your budget? And I can hear people saying, like, well, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a personal shoot. That's absolutely
Don't
fine.
have to. Don't
You
have
don't
to.
have to. Okay, we're in the middle of summer in the UK. There are amazing outdoor locations that won't cost you a penny.
Yeah.
Find a model to collaborate with. You don't have to pay the model. So the talent in this instance of my shoot, I didn't pay. We are collaborating together. We are working together. He's doing it for free. I'm shooting for free. It was on each other's portfolios. Do you know what I mean? So you gotta find stuff that works. So find your constraints, and that's kind of the first port of call, I would say.
Yeah. Well, also the purpose is so important because it's so much effort. Like no matter, like, I think we've all been in that situation before where you accept like a client project and you're just like thinking about the money, and then like when you're actually on it, you're like, holy shit! If I knew if it was going to be like this much effort and this much like time frame,
Yeah.
then maybe you would have thought about saying yes to it a bit more or whatever. And I think it's the same thing with personal projects where you can want to shoot something and you don't really put a lot of prep into it. Like you kind of just say, yeah, let's do that. And then you go and do it. And then in the middle of it, you're like, oh my God, like this is so much effort and I don't even know why I'm shooting it. Like you're shooting it to put it on your portfolio, but like what for? Like, is it
Yeah.
for a
And
certain brand? Is it this thing? And so I think it's really important to really dial in like the purpose and the specifics of what do I want from it? What kind of images do I want from it? What kind of video and all this? And even again, like on the social aspect, shall we shoot BTS? Shall we not? Like, I think all that stuff really needs to be considered.
you are kind of becoming a bit of a producer in this scenario. So like this
Hmm.
isn't the shoot I did yesterday was like a small to medium sized shoot. You know, there's not 20 people on set, and you can make these personal projects as big or small as you want. So it might just be, and this is how I loved, I always used to do it, was messaging an athlete or a model, and you just meet just you and them, and you go to the beach and you do a shoot. There's not a lot of prep. You just put a little bit of a
Hmm.
mood board together, maybe, but it's like, I'll meet you here at this time. What we get is what we get. You can decide how much planning goes into this. Obviously, the more back end planning that goes into it, getting a bit of a shot list together, getting a mood board, understanding what you want from it, setting a bit of a goal, then it's likely that your final outcome will be, how should I say it?
Subpar.
Well, your final outcome will be better the more back end that goes into it in terms of what you're trying to achieve, right? So
Hmm.
the goal for me that I set was to have an image or something that could sit in my portfolio, and I think I achieved that. And like Eden always says to me, if you come away with one image that can sit in your portfolio, then it's a win. And
It's a good mindset.
um, yeah, so setting your goal, figuring out what that is. You don't have to spend thousands of pounds. You don't have to have a big crew. It all depends on where you are in your career, right? I'm trying to push myself to become a bigger commercial photographer. So anything I create has to have a certain level to it in terms of, have we thought about the styling? Have we thought about what kind of backdrop it is? Have we thought about the lighting? Have we thought about retouching? All these things that would go into a normal commercial product anyway, I have to consider if I want it to be at a certain level. So there's certain ingredients that go into the shoot, right?
Just out of curiosity, before we move on to the next bit, would you do this even if you was at the very, very beginning building your portfolio? Like, what would you?
Thousand
Or
percent.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
or would you try and just shoot a bunch of stuff like and not think about it too much because you need something to be on there? Because that's
Um,
the
a,
first thing I think of.
a bit of both. Like, obviously, I would say when you're starting out, shoot as much as you possibly can,
Hmm.
but also shoot the stuff you want to shoot. So if you're a photographer that's just starting out and you're super interested in fashion and you're in your early 20s, then oh, I know, there's a brand at the moment called Scuffers, which is like really popular with that demographic. So I've got a friend, they do a bit of modeling. They might not be a model, but they look good in front of camera, and they've got some Scuffers clothing. So I'll get them to put an outfit or two together, and we'll go out to the beach in Brighton or the White Cliffs of Dover, and we'll shoot a campaign on the cliffs and on the beach, and I'll pretend that it's a campaign for Scuffers because I love the brand,
Yeah, yeah,
and simple as that. So shoot the stuff that's got a bit more thought to it, but also go out and shoot as much as you can as well, just
yeah.
of random stuff.
Basically, at least aim in the general direction of where you
Yeah,
want in what you want to be shooting in, and maybe you
yeah,
can really start dialing this stuff in the future. But
yeah.
yeah, okay, that's really good.
And then it's the next part is like concepting. So references, what direction do I want to go in? So I think I've talked about it before, but I like to do seeding. So
Oh,
on
the Rick Rubin
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
So
Okay.
on a Pinterest board, I I started doing this in June and July. So just like saving loads of pins off my feed of like a June vibe, a July vibe, an August vibe, just like
Hmm.
images that I'm gravitating towards for whatever reason.
Is
on
this
that
only on Pinterest?
in that month. Yeah, it's just like
Hmm.
easy on Pinterest. Like I save lots of stuff on Instagram too.
Yeah.
There's also
I
another
feel like
brand
on
called Cosmos.
Instagram, yeah, on Instagram I don't really go and check the folder that often, whereas I feel like on Pinterest it's a bit more
Just all
like
there. It's just more
it's there,
visual,
like it's
isn't it?
boarded, yeah.
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 Um. So you know, and you'll have like once the more you mood board, just always saving stuff that you like the look of.
Yeah, you're
But
just
like,
consuming
and
absorption.
off one of those saves, you might have this idea like, oh, I want to do something that's like football related, and then I'm
Mm.
like, do you know what I'll do? I'll create a mood board based on football. So any idea, any images that I'm just leaning towards, and they're just things that, for some reason, you don't have to explain why, visually captivate you. There's something about it that ignites a little something in you, and you save it because you just vibe with it. So obviously, I knew that I wanted to do a shoot with On, and I wanted it to be really movement heavy. So I started creating a mood board based around this concept that I had in my head. When I think of ideas, I write them down, and all that kind of stuff. So, I started to put a mood board together, which I think Cameron is gonna
I will share it right now.
start to pull up. So, and off the back of that, looking at the mood board, you're putting a bit of a shot list together. So, what you like the look of. So here it is on screen for those that are watching. So part one of the shoot, mood board, the first portion of the shoot is all movement based. So lots of dynamic movement, floating. It's going to have this kind of ethereal effect to it. Looking at this mood board, Cameron, can you see the crossover now with the final?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay, yeah,
I am curious though. What do you look at when you're looking at a mood board? Are you thinking about? I imagine you're thinking about the poses, but are you also thinking about like the lighting? Are you thinking about because some of these things is like more value based, like black and white. You've also
yeah.
got like
So
this, like what looks like some weird kind of like dreamy landscapey
it's up to
kind
you
of.
how deep you get into it, right? Because you can have a mood
Mm,
board for the pose or
mm.
the composition. You could then have a mood board for lighting. You can
That's a
then
good
have a
point. Yeah.
you can then have a mood board for post production, so the editing and how you want to grade it, and how
Mm,
you might share that mood board with the retoucher. So this is a bit of a mishmash. It's nothing to do with lighting. When I'm creating mood boards, it's more about the poses and the movements. I'll have an idea of how I want it to look and be graded in post just as I'm going through it when I see it. I like
okay,
that
that
to
is
happen
interesting.
happen
Okay,
naturally.
okay.
So this is more like posing. It's nothing to do with like the black and white, or this is just more like compositions, movements, and just kind of and me looking at this mood board that I created. I'm pulling it up on set, and I'm like, right, I want to get something that looks a little like that, but with this spin. I want to get something that's like that angle, and I'm kind of if I feel stuck and I feel a pause when I'm creating. I'm like, right, what's next? Refer to the mood board. Oh, I know. We wanted to do something like this. Some running through the frame, some landing. Okay, now let's pivot. And I'm talking
Mm,
to the talent. Do you think we could do something like this? How can we do this, but with this twist? So yeah, this is the mood board I created, which is
mm.
obviously part of the deck that we'll show you. But this is almost also my shot list too. I don't have a separate
Oh wow.
thing
Okay.
that's a shot list. Like if a brand was approaching me, they might have a shot list, but this is my personal project. The shot list is kind of in my head, and I know
Mm.
what I want to get, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think this is where maybe me and you differ in terms of like the research and stuff because I feel like on the video side, I would probably have a mood board for lighting and I would also have a mood board for frames as well and like
Yeah,
mood and emotion because like some of them like for example the one with the girl in the top left feels like a bit more like yoga
yeah,
style to me.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then you've also got the ones where it's like the guy on the right where he's like he looks like he's snowboarding down a mountain everything's kind of like blurry white
yeah,
and so there's a few things whereas you're very like, oh, this is my thing, but this is also my shot list. And I feel like I would almost have like 4 or 5 mood boards for lighting and then the composition and then another one. And then every now and again there might be like a mood board that's just like all of them together where it's like, oh, I like the lighting from this, but I also like the what's the word? I'm not compositing.
Composition.
Composition. For some reason, I just
Yeah.
forgot the word. So
So
maybe
the
that'll be
girl,
on the same thing. Yeah.
the photo of the girl smiling is so out of place, and actually, I would remove that
Mm,
from the mood board
okay.
now. The guy who looks like
In
he's
hindsight.
snowboarding, yeah, the guy who
Yeah.
looks like he's snowboarding down the hill. That's actually more. I like the post production on that
Mm,
and the editing rather than
okay.
the composition. So yeah, so it is a real mash, and like you
Mm,
can get deeper in with it, 1,000%. So there's a second mood board if you want to scroll down.
yeah,
So
because
I split the shoot into two parts. So this one's called Grounded. So after lunch, it was more getting portraits. So how can I get expressive portraits that still have a sporting element intertwined with it? So I ordered in some props from Amazon that I bought with us on the day, which aren't in this deck, but I had two separate parts of the shoot with two clear goals. Both are very different and have a very different look to them. So I ordered some gym towels. You see the guy there with the basketball and the towel around his head. So I was like, oh, I should get some white gym towels in. And I got a couple of other props. So, yeah, like, and do you know what? One of my favorite shots of the day, which was the last shot of the day, was inspired by the third photo along on the top right, the one in the very middle, with kind of the guy
okay.
like leaning back with his head in the air. And that cascaded a whole array of movements that the model then did based off that image, and they're some of the best shots of the day. So
Yeah. So for the people that are listening on audio that can't hear, well, sorry, that can't see these mood boards, but basically Matt's talking about where there's this guy that stood straight, and it's almost like a pose, but you're talking about how it starts from this pose, and then like the model can kind of drift from there on your shoot, and that's kind of the starting point,
yeah,
which I think is really cool.
yeah, the model takes that and runs their own way with it. Do you know what I mean? And they
Yeah.
think, oh, that's. And I had the most talented guy, Baron, who is fully trained in circus, acrobatics, like all this kind of stuff, dance, went to drama school. So, and there's a video of me at the end talking to him. That I've got on my phone. It's just saying how incredible it was to work with someone that really knows movement
Mm.
and moves in a way that I've never ever witnessed before. So I don't want to get too much into that, but here are my two mood boards. So I've got mood boards, and like I say, you can go into a lighting mood board, you can go into a composition mood board, you can go into the way you want it to be edited. But
You have.
obviously, go on.
I was going to say you have these on shoot as well, though. You on set
Yeah,
for them
yeah,
to
these
see
are
in
always
person.
pulled up.
Yeah.
These are on a screen, so the
Mm.
model can see it, I can see it, we're referring back to it,
Mm.
which is obviously really handy. But before I just touch on the talent, then you've obviously got to find someone that you think fits the bill. So, in an ideal scenario, you've got your two more mood boards together, but, you haven't found the talent, you haven't figured out the styling. So, I actually had a meeting with a modeling agency not long ago, and I was saying to them that I had this idea. I wanted to do like an on concept like
Mm.
campaign. So they pointed out a few people on their books, and they pointed out this one guy, Baron, who I ended up using, who's done some work and was a partner with them for 6 months. So in my head, I'm like, right, he moves really well. He looks like he photographs really well. But the biggest winner here is that he's got all the on kit. Because if I'm wanting to do an on spec commercial, it's then
Yeah,
a
you
pain in
can.
the ass to, I've either got to find a stylist who's got to source loads of on kit for the person to fit the person, or I've got to buy a load of on kit for myself for him to wear, then I have to
Mhm.
return it. If I can find a model who is already sponsored by On, has worked with On, has all kinds of kit, that's a huge win. It means that it takes out a load of faff and like all that kind of stuff. He turned up with a massive duffel bag with like 10 different outfits of On clothing. And, so we steam them,
Winner, winner.
and we're trying to figure out obviously what will work against different backgrounds. So when choosing your talent, kind of take that into consideration, have a think about that, because it makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not as relevant if you're doing a random shoot and it's nothing to do with a brand. But if you're like, right, I want to do a shoot for Nike, if you're doing a test shoot with a model, make sure they're head to toe in Nike and make it look like a Nike advert. You can't have them wearing Castor shorts, Umbro top, Nike boots, Adidas
I was
socks. Like,
gonna say.
you'd be surprised, but
I thought
it's
you was gonna say something completely different. I thought you was gonna be like, you can't have them like 300 pound, like. I was just
no, no,
going
no.
into a
Just
completely
shoot
different
like.
direction.
Do you know what I mean? If you want to make something look like a Nike advert, a
Mm.
commercial, don't put them in Umbro socks with Nike boots on.
That's
Just
true.
think,
Yeah.
just be intentional about the way you're doing it.
Would you? So I think for video, maybe you can get away with it a little bit more in video, but I think usually the model is someone that you have to really put a lot of thought and effort into because they're almost like the communicating like the entire thing through to whoever's gonna like consume it.
Talent is
And
so important. What I'm
yeah,
realizing is if you've got a good location and good talent,
it's like the perfect
oh
marrying
mate,
of
you're marrying two perfect ingredients together. It's almost
mm,
harder then to have a bad outcome.
yeah,
Whereas you could
yeah,
have an amazing concept, but not a very good model, and it not be in the right location, and it's like almost a waste of time.
yeah.
And I
And
don't
it's
want to say that to deter people to stop them from shooting. Go out and learn that for yourself. Go out and learn for yourself, like what a good model
mm,
is or a bad model is, or what a good location is or what a bad location is. Make those mistakes so you know, so you can start to refine. And when I do these personal shoots, it's like the one I did with Jay Surrey, the runner in the studio. It's like finding the perfect talent and not rushing that. Because Eden was like, "All right, so who are you
mm,
gonna have for your next shoot?" And it's like, well, it's tough. Like you've got to find the right person. Like I'm not just gonna rush into the first model that I see or hit me up. Like there's specific people I want to shoot with because I think they'll do the job and create the vision really well of what I've got in my head. If that makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah. And it is something, I think at first you can get away with it, obviously, a bit more. Like, I used to shoot my friends when I was first starting, and sometimes it would go really well, and then other times you'd be like, oh, well, the work's good, but whatever. And I think over time it actually becomes more of a priority where basically as soon as you can, really,
Yeah.
is try and get like the right people on the right shoot. And it makes me think of like movies where, you know, the casting directors might talk about how they spent 6 months looking for the proper like lead role because it's like it really matters. And what's difficult is that it's a feeling. It's not even something like you might be like if you're like looking for like a sports person, they might fit the bill perfectly, but for some reason there is like just this thing of like yeah, I don't know, like it could be something like they look too hardcore kind of thing, or maybe a little
Or
bit,
maybe they're
you
like
know?
not they don't enjoy being in front of camera. Like
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
worked with some incredible athletes that really hate having their photo taken and they don't like doing
mm,
photo shoots. So that comes across. And
yeah,
compare it with someone that loves to do shoots and loves to get creative, then you're getting wildly different results. So yeah,
mm,
like choosing the correct team and the right talent and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that you can be more selective the further down you get in your career,
mm,
you know, and don't make that mistake. Like when you're starting out, just shoot whoever, and like the more you shoot, the better you're gonna get. I'm
yeah.
just at a point in my career where I'm trying to be more intentional and more selective because I need to be.
Yeah, well, also the more experienced you become, the more you know what you want, and
Yeah.
naturally you're going to be like, well, I know that I want this kind of person for the shoot. So, yeah, like 100%. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Um, do you want me to scroll down onto the next
No.
thing, or
Do you know what, Cam? We're already 45 minutes into this show, and we're only like 3 out of like 8 points.
what?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So what I'm thinking is that we cut this episode into 2 parts
What? And we do
because,
part two when you've released the images.
well, I don't know when we release it, just as in the next episode because we've
Well,
already
you've got to
touched
hurry up,
on.
mate. You've got an urgency. Like you've got to get them out so that we can
I'm
do them
taking
the
my
rest.
sweet ass time, man. We've already touched on so many interesting points I think a lot of people probably don't know about.
Hmm.
You know, so I don't want to cram it all into like a really long episode. I think we split this into 2 halves,
Okay.
so people can digest it properly because there's still so much to talk about, and I'm conscious that we're not far off an hour. So,
Okay.
uh,
Well,
um,
what would be next then? Is
so
it talking about the actual shooting of the model and
yeah.
stuff? Like what's
So
the
yeah, we're gonna go into like creating the call sheet, creating the deck that we're about to
mm,
look through, and going over the basics. Like you might not think you need to touch about like all the helpful information, call times, like letting people aware of where the local hospital is, the parking, the travel, like all that kind of stuff. So
the boring admin
yeah, the
basically?
boring admin,
Yeah.
but you know, and also I want to touch about how to reach out to talent as well.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking we cut this in half. Episode, we do that in part two.
Okay. Okay.
just so people can know what's coming. So we'll get into how to reach out to people, putting the deck together, and then actually executing the shoot, and then what that looks like post shoot. So
Yeah, what are you thinking in post production? Yeah.
yeah, and the aftercare, the post production flow, the wrapping, the backing up when you get home, and all that kind of stuff. So
Oh mate.
really breaking down this shoot,
Mm.
because I think it'll be good to have a real life example of it. So sorry, folks, if you made it this far, I'm gonna cut it there
It's
because
just like an instant like
because
time
it's
for an
already
instant.
we're nearly at 50 minutes. So thanks for listening. I think it's better to put it into two parts. So
Yeah.
hopefully, what we've covered so far is something that you've had some insight into. You've learned. It's been great being able to like share these mood boards with you and kind of speak more about the process and coming up with ideas and
Yeah.
concepts.
I've got to say, I like the speed of this. I do like the slowed down kind of like, because even I'm thinking like, what did I do when I was like mood boarding? And
Yeah,
like, it really thinking like getting into the nitty gritty of it. I think is something that isn't spoken about in depth too often.
yeah,
And I don't know. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice as well to know that not everything is thought out. Like in terms of like why this specific thing, and it's like, oh well, I actually just liked this part of the mood board, so I just added it to the mood board kind of thing.
yeah.
It's not. Yeah.
No, for
Okay.
sure.
Well.
So
Yeah, man.
yeah, thanks for listening, guys. If you made it this far, we'll see you in part two of this same episode next week, and hopefully you enjoy that as well. We appreciate it. If you made it this far, please do us a favor, follow, leave a 5-star review on your listening platform, wherever you are on. It helps us with the algorithm, reaching new people. Please
I would.
subscribe to our newsletter as well.
Yeah, I would also say like if there's any questions from off the back of this episode that maybe you want
Please reach
answering
out.
in part two, then
Yeah,
definitely shoot me on my message and
yeah,
maybe
for
maybe
sure.
actually leave a comment on this episode on Spotify. You can probably do
Yeah,
that actually. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Sounds good. Right, Cam. Well, have a good end to your week, and
yeah.
I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Thanks, bro. See you
Bye
soon.
bye.
Bye.